Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Life with Marianne and Joe. Or welcome to an episode of Life with Marianne and Joe if you just stumbled on me. Today we're going to be doing a little DIY. We're going to be using wine glasses to make some pumpkin candle holders. And you know what? Why don't you pour yourself a nice glass of wine before we start this? I think that's what I'm going to do. At least one. Okay, so here is the glass that I'm choosing to use. So it has a really nice big base for me to make my pumpkin on, and it has a shorter stem rather than the longer stem. But like I said, if you have old glasses and use what you have. You don't have to go out and buy something. And what it's going to end up, it's going to be like this, right? And then the candle is going to go up here. So I thought this might be more appropriate for the pumpkin because then the stem wouldn't be too long. But it doesn't have to be, accurate because it's just a piece of art. It's not, supposed to depict something that's absolutely positively true to life. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure your glass is clean. So wash it and then dry it very, very well. That's the first thing that you want to do. All right, now that my glasses are clean and dry, I'm going to put some alcohol on them because I want to make sure that they are as clean as possible because we want our paint to make sure that it sticks to our glass. So clean your glasses with alcohol next. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have an inspiration piece like this. I'm a visual learner, so I'm best when I have something that I can reference in order to make it look the way I want. So I found this little clip art right here that I thought might be useful to me in making these glasses. And now I'm going to show you the actual inspiration piece, the glasses that Marianne sent me. Well, Marianne just called while I was making the video, so I kind of lost my train of thought, but I think I was going to show you this inspiration piece. This is the picture that she sent me of what I'm trying to mimic. So between this picture and the picture before, we'll see what we're going to do. All right, so the first thing is I need some acrylic paint, and I got all of this at the Dollar Tree. You can get it at Michael's. You can get it anywhere you want. And what I did was, this is the only orange they had. So obviously I don't want my pumpkins this orange. You can make them this orange. There are pumpkins this orange, but I want it to be toned down a little bit. So what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to be toning it down with the brown to get a more deeper kind of orange. So I needed this. I also needed some green because I like a little bit of green to highlight those curves in the pumpkin. And I also needed some black to achieve the look I wanted. And then, of course, you need some paintbrushes. And you're going to probably need leaves and something to make the little tendrils and polyurethane. I think I'm going to cover the whole thing with polyurethane. Okay, so let's get started with this project. All right, so I'm going to start making the orange that I want. I'm going to put a little bit of orange in my plate like this, okay? And I'm going to put a little bit of brown over here on the side, if it comes out, okay? And I'm going to begin mixing my color. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the brown and I'm going to, start making a color here. Now, the hardest part about this is that I can't make enough, all in one shot. So I'm going to have to continuously make that. So the color may vary as I paint, but you know what? It's supposed to be organic. It's not something that's, every single pumpkin isn't exactly the same color, right? So you see, I'm starting to tone it down a lot, and this is what I'm going to begin painting on my glasses. So let me mix up a little bit more. Okay, so that little bit of paint that I showed you that I did was enough to do 4 glasses. Okay, for the first coat anyway. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm not going to touch it, and I'm going to touch it up then where I can still see the glass coming through. So I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll come back again and put a little bit more paint on there. All right, so they have about 3 coats on them each. Next thing is I have to double side the brush. I have to get that hair off of there though. And then I'm going to run the brush through both at the same time. This way we can double load the brush and then be able to make strokes to make those lines that the pumpkin has. All right, so I don't know if it picks up on camera, but you can see the subtle dark light, and that gives it that, that look that the pumpkin has. Next, after this dries, I'm going to go in with a thinner brush. Now, I'm going to use a thinner brush, and I'm going to highlight the dark side with a little bit more brown. But I have to let this dry. I decided it needed some lighter highlights, so I mixed some white with some orange, and I did this, and it looks bad. It looks really crappy. And I continued at this point, but it's going to change soon. All right, so now I mixed some white with some green to make a really light green, and I was going to highlight the lines with the green. And as you can see, I continued to assault this poor wine glass. It looks absolutely horrible. Maybe I shouldn't have drank that glass of wine before I started. Anyway, I thought I could, force it to look better, but it just kept getting worse and worse. But that's what happens sometimes when you do these DIY projects. Sometimes you like it and sometimes you don't. Thank God this is just acrylic paint, so it washes right off, which is actually what I wound up doing maybe in the next segment. So I got to this point, and you can see I actually started dabbing on some brown, trying to cover up some of the lines and just blend them and make it look a little bit more organic. But I said, okay, let me do the top now. All right, that's one coat, and it looks like mud. All right, so you know what? I washed them off. I just started all over again. They came with soap and water. It comes off really quickly. I did the whole thing, dried them well, the alcohol. And then what I decided to do is spray paint them orange. I spray painted the inside first, then the outside. And what you can see right now is I actually have the tops wrapped because I'm going to spray paint the stem, and I want to keep a minimum of green there. And here's the green Krylon I'm painting the stem with. All right, so here it is with the bottom spray painted orange. And like I said to you, I did the inside of the glass and the outside. And the top, I spray painted green. So now what I'm going to do is nervously, I'm going to put some of the lines in here. And I think I'm just going to do it with a little bit of orange and brown just to give it a little bit of depth in there. And I'm going to call it a day. I was actually thinking of, coming in here with green and bringing in blah, 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 blah. And you know what? I'm just going to ruin it. So as you can tell, I'm not really like crazy about this project still, but I'm going to continue with it anyway. So I'm going to put the lines in here next. Okay, so what I quickly found out was I forget about mixing the orange for me anyway. So what I did was I did the brown like this right now. I came in with this brush, and I'm not painting flat. I'm going to paint on the side over here. And what I'm going to do, if I can get my arm out of the way, is I'm going to just drag a line down here. Now, I'm not going to be crazy making sure that it's absolutely straight. I mean, I do want it as straight as I can possibly get it, but you're painting on a curve, plus I'm painting on top of spray paint, which does not want to let this paint adhere to it. But anyway, if you just left it like that, it would look crappy. So what you want to do is you want to take a little paper towel and you just want to dab that line away, okay? Just so that it gives a hint of a line, see, like that. Just that it's hinted that it's there. So, if you're right on top of it, it's not going to look really great. but when you're further away from it, it actually looks like it indents in. So I'm going to continue with that. Paint the line, and before it dries, before I do the next line, I'm going to go right in with a paper towel and I'm going to dab it off. All right, so here's where we're at now. This project is way more detailed than I actually thought it was going to be. But again, it's always something like, you have to do what's good for you. And I just wanted, to try to get as close to that inspiration piece as I can. So as you can see, what I did was I put those dark lines in, which I told you, and then I used my paper towel and I blotted it in. Then I went in with the straight orange, the regular orange right there, and I painted in on the sides like this. See that? Like that and that, which kind of just made this line appear a little bit more. Now, after I brushed it in slightly, again, I went in with my paper towel and I blotted it in. Then, as you can see, it looks like the light is hitting it, right? Like, when you look at the pumpkin and you see the light, well, light is hitting it right now. But what I did was I went in with some white paint and a little bit of the orange, and I created this color right in here. And then what I did was I always stayed on the right side of these dark lines. So I would put some in there and then blot it in. Put some in there, blot it in, and so on and so on. So you can see it gives it a little bit of depth, because we want to try to make that, the pumpkins are, wavy like that. So, and it's hard because this is obviously not wavy. So you can't have dark if you don't have light, right? So the dark looks darker because the light makes it look darker. Does that make sense? So, like I said, it's something that you have to play with. I'm more happy with it right now than I was before. And I just have to be careful now because, I can keep going in and absolutely ruin it. So I'm going to just give it a little bit of a rest right now. And I'm going to go look for the leaves and stuff that I want to hot glue on the top of this. Next, I'm going to use some floral wire. Like this, I cut a piece, and what I'm going to do is going to wrap it around my finger and to make it look like the tendril. And so there you go, that's what I did, and I put a dab of hot glue there to hold it in place. Next, I cut a couple of leaves off of a pick from the Dollar Tree, I think it was, and I just cut the leaves off and I hot glued those on. And next, I took some of this stuff right here and I just put it in there where it meets, and I put a little bit back there to hide the wire. That's optional, you can do whatever you want. I just liked the way that looked. Okay, so there you go, there's the finished project, and I chose to use these little green candles on top of here. You can do whatever you like, the battery powered, whatever you're into, that's what you use. Thanks for stopping by. Please subscribe and drop me a comment. Tell me what you think about this, if you would think about or consider doing this. And give me a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, everybody, take care, and hopefully I'll be starting fall really soon. Bye-bye.